It's time for another Nebraska Prep Zone report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson, and joining me today is Stu Pospisil. How are you doing today, Stu?
I'm good. I hope I don't choke you up today.
Well, we had Mike Patterson on last week to check in halfway point of girls basketball. So I wanted to do the same for boys basketball. And we've got some intriguing battles at the top of Class A and B.
We do, and fortunately, most of these teams have gotten in 10, 11 games. So they are really at the halfway point of the regular season. And we got to just trying to keep doing what's been working to get us to the postseason.
Definitely. And it feels this year different than others that most of these teams have already played. So we have kind of a good measuring stick of where they're at compared to each other.
We do. The top of the top 10 still really has to go through another round of skirmishes in the Metro Conference. We haven't seen Millard North and Prep yet. Millard North and Central we get on Friday night. Bellevue West, Millard North. Probably the rematch everybody wants to see and can't is January 29th at, I believe it's Millard North this year. Normal years, they'd be shutting the doors at 5:30. This year, they won't be opening the doors to hardly anybody.
Yeah. Well, let's dive right into it with Millard North and that rematch with Bellevue West. The Mustangs obviously won the double OT thriller in the Metro Holiday Tournament Championship. Before they face Bellevue West, as you noted, they have Central on the 15th, and then they also have Prep on February 16th. So we'll see where the Mustangs are at. They're sitting 11-0 this year, and a little bit different than last year. They've for the most part avoided kind of those slow starts and flurry finishes against some lower teams.
Yeah, and they have to keep the eyes on the prize that they didn't get last year, and I think they realize that they are the target. That they don't bring a good game, other teams will try and muster up their A game, and sometimes that's good enough. With Millard North and Bellevue West, a rematch. Where do you start? I mean, you don't see St. Thomas gain another 48 as he did this time. So where do some of those points go? To keep the Mustangs on top. Bellevue West, with Frankie Fiddler and Chucky Hepburn, Greg Brown is kind of a interesting dynamic as he gets accustomed to playing for the Thunderbirds. Yeah, you look forward to that January 29th rematch, but there's so many games, including this week with Bellevue West hosting Pius on Tuesday and Millard North going to Central on Friday. And Central's not an easy place to play. And Central was semi-close against Millard North in the semis of the Metro. And Prep, Josh Luke, he's always going to have his team prepared to play anybody. So, I'm looking forward to these next couple months. And, Pius right now is kind of the X factor, no pun intended. After Bellevue West, they don't really play anybody in high up in the top 10 the rest of the year. So, they figure to have pretty good wild card points. And, even should they lose to Bellevue West, if they have only one or two losses, will they break up that top four?
Yeah, and let's jump to Bellevue West next. As you noted, they face Pius tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday, and then they have Prep on the 30th and Central on the 19th. And for these top two teams especially, I mean, everybody is chasing that title in March, and so where they're at right now doesn't really matter outside of district standings and wild card points. But what is Bellevue West kind of not really coasting to March, but where are the Thunderbirds at right now?
I think they feel they're right on Millard North's heels, but they can't let up either. They had a 23-point lead over at the MAC shootout on Friday night against Abraham Lincoln in the third quarter, and with 5 seconds left, AL's taking a shot to tie the game. So, it was a little officiating was a little interesting there that night, but that was probably a good wake-up call for Bellevue West. That hey, again, good teams, you get 20 points up, you can't relax because there's enough talent on a lot of teams to make a run like that, especially at the three-pointer.
And then this 3 through 5, here's kind of where things get interesting to me. Creighton Prep is at 3 this week, and they were last week as well. They have a tough slate to end January: West Side, Papillion La Vista South, and Bellevue West, plus to end February, Millard North and Central, and, oh yeah, a matchup with Papillion La Vista sandwiched in between. So I think we'll learn a lot about the Junior Jays.
Well, and a game with Rockhurst from Kansas City, which is always a good intersectional battle. So, yeah, the Junior Jays, pressed Bellevue West in the Metro. Again, we're going to see this round robin go again. In the second half of the year. Justin City's going to Morningside, and Luke Jungers is a junior with a lot of upside. That I think he needs to get the ball more often, be more assertive myself, and because he should be probably a 15-8 guy this year, and then really step up next year at 6'8". And the Buckley twins have done well. Prep is sitting there, and they in Central will have a good matchup coming up. And with Central, I think the breakout player this year is Denham Johnson from who had transferred over from Benson, 6'1". I've heard stories through the years about Ernie Britt, who played at Omaha Tech and at Nebraska and Southeast Community College, and then more recently has helped go with the Nebraska Black Sports Hall of Fame and its All-Star game. Ernie was 6'1", played center for Tech. Denham Johnson must be this generation's Ernie Britt, because at 6'1", he can just flat out jump out of the gym as a center, shot blocks, dunks, really exciting player. And with what Central had coming back, they're right there in that. On a given night, can they take down Millard North or Bellevue West? And then we've got number 5 Pius, that watching them play Northeast the other night on Saturday, how they ball pressure is a lot like Bellevue West. So this Tuesday night meeting is going to tell us a lot about is Pius closer to the top 4, or is it closer to the chasers in the Metro Conference? And we'll get a real good read from that. And let's just take a quick look at the second 5. Papio's moved ahead of Papio South. Papio South's in a little bit of a funk or slump or tailspin. As of this taping, they've lost 3 in a row, albeit to 2 good teams, and an upset loss to a Benson team that all in recent years has had Papio South's numbers. So just must be a bad matchup for the Titans. Lincoln Southeast might be the second best team in Lincoln. West Side's growing, and Grand Island moves in at number 10 this week with Isaac Trout, who now has a Kansas offer. The Jeremiah Slew, the coach there, has really done a good job bringing those other kids in who weren't starters last year, didn't really get a whole lot of playing time, meshing them with what Isaac can do. I'm eager to see them again.
Yeah, I want to circle back to Pius real quick here. They've only played 7 games, given the late start that Lincoln got. They may also, of those top 5 teams, have the easiest remaining schedule. But at 7-0, they seem to be flying a little bit under the radar. You saw them last week. What's behind their success this year?
Well, again, as I said, ball defense. They are very. They actually are. It's not like they're intercepting passes. They're actually knocking the ball away from very good players, kind of like what Chucky Hepburn will do with Bellevue West. They shoot it pretty well. Again, Sam Hastreiter has an Idaho offer, 6'6" junior. Didn't do a whole lot offensively in the first half Second half kind of put the nail in the Northeast Rockets, 3 threes in the third quarter to show his range. And they're deep. Brian Spitzka, Pius's coach, played 10 in the first half. So they're deep. They can withstand some foul issues. Again, this test with Bellevue West is going to tell us a lot about Pius and their chances going forward.
And that's kind of the question that you noted when you saw them last week. Can they avoid a repeat of last season, a loss to Bellevue West, and then they faltered down the stretch, winning 5 of 13 and missing the state tournament?
Exactly. And I think this is a more mature group. Obviously last year you're bringing in the Hoiberg twins, which talent-wise makes them better, but that's also 2 positions that kids may have thought they'd be starting. I don't know what the chemistry issues were, but it was certainly not the finish that the Thunderbolts wanted last year. I'm confident this year that they will finish strong regardless of what happens with Bellevue West, and that they should be in the state tourney field either as a district champion or as the 1 wild card.
And let's move to Class B now. The number 1 there, Elkhorn Mount Michael, 8-1. The Knights have a win over the number 3 team, Omaha Skutt, to open the season, earning a little bit of revenge for last season's loss in the semifinals.
Exactly. And Mount Michael went down to a showcase event at St. Joseph, Missouri on Saturday, lost by 2. Just St. Joseph Lafayette, I believe. Good ball team down there. Doesn't cost them in the Nebraska rankings because they're undefeated here. 5 senior starters for the Knights. Derek Spooner started them as freshmen. This is their year. This is their chance. They had 2 2-point games last week because they barely got out of their own gym with a 50-48 win over then number 6 Elkhorn. We thought one time that might be a number 1 versus number 2 matchup, and Elkhorn hit a stretch of 4 games against ranked teams, but they're going to be still in the mix, I believe, come March. Elkhorn has shot correctly, ruled to come after the buzzer at Mount Michael, but that's how close those 2 teams are. Waverly just avenged its holiday tourney loss to Norris, so they move up to 2. Skutt, I think I probably saw them at their ebb point at the Heartland Holiday Classic in Hastings, where they got rolled over by Grand Island Central Catholic, our C2 number 1 team. But it looks like Skutt has put things together, and they're saying number 3. Norris is 4. Platteview, with Connor Milliken, is off to a 9-2 start, and then Elkhorn's number 6 at 6-3.
So Mount Michael was the 5 seed last year. Besides the obvious of just keep winning, are they in position, or what do they need to do to earn a higher seed this year?
Win out.
Besides the obvious.
Again, I think B is just wide open, and Mount Michael is in a very truncated River City Conference, which is down to 5 teams after the Trailblazer Conference was formed and Ralston and Beatrice left the River Cities. I think that, let's say they get to the end of the regular season 18-3, they should, in all likelihood, be in that top mix. Remember, the Class B and below, you have no wild cards anymore. You got to win your district final, which is the top 16 in the wild card, basically, after the sub-districts going to the sub-district winners, and then you fill out with the rest of the wild card standings, playoff to go to state. So, it doesn't really matter what Mount Michael does, except maybe to get a more favorable draw in the district final, compared to Class A, where you certainly want to try and be the number 1 seed because you go to districts and you're assured of going to state.
Yeah. Waverly, as we noted, they have a tough February. C1's Wahoo Newman. And then how about this? 4 straight road games to end the season at Aurora, at Elkhorn, at Hastings, and at Beatrice.
There's some really odd scheduling. I sometimes just shake my head how teams like will have 1 home game out of their first 10 or have 8 home games out of their final 10. I've done scheduling before, and I could come up with better scheduling than what I see done by the athletic directors. I really could.
And then number 3, Scott, they have the River Cities Conference Tournament coming up soon, which could feature a matchup with Elkhorn Mount Michael, plus a few other dates to circle. Pius on January 26th, Norris on February 9th, and Elkhorn on February 12th.
That Norris game was postponed by COVID in Mount Michael, so that game got shoved back to February. That'll be an interesting matchup. Jimmy Moats, new coach at Norris, won state title at Sterling, former Creighton postseason hero. Came over from Columbus down to Norris, and the Titans' first loss was against Waverly last week. But I think Norris is going to be very much in contention to go to state.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the thing that we noted before we started recording today. Boys basketball in Class B feels a lot like football this year, that it's wide open. In football, we saw some lower seeds making it, and in normal years would be termed an upset, and it was just kind of, okay, this is normal. So I think we could see a very interesting Class B state field this year.
I think you want to try and avoid being in the 5, 6, 7, 8 hole when it comes to district finals. I think those top 4 will have a slight advantage, and there's a pretty good middle of the pack in Class B.
What are your other storylines to watch that we haven't talked about so far?
Well, Auburn keeps rolling with its winning streak, which is now in the 40s in C1. They lead the pack there. Big game with BRLD, matchup of 2-time defending champions out in Grand Island at the Heartland Hoops Classic on February 13th. Certainly one of the interesting games that day that doesn't involve Bellevue West or Millard North, which that day Oak Hill Academy is supposed to come in and play Millard North. Sunrise Christian is supposed to play Bellevue West. And those 2 teams, the out-of-staters, are to play in Hastings against each other on the Friday night before. So kind of a bonus plan for basketball junkies if the DHMs allow outside spectators to a degree. Again, I think we've got to still wait and see what January brings as to what February looks like for crowd accessibility. And certainly, one of the stories we're going to be following is, will the state tourney look normal? Will the postseason look normal? What may have to happen?
Well, we'll look forward to your coverage down the stretch and keeping everybody in the loop on the latest on boys basketball. Thanks for joining us, Stu, and until next time, thanks for listening.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game, stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.